Okay, I think we're on. So hi everyone, we're thrilled to be here at JNation. Yeah, maybe we can turn the volume a little bit down. No?
You don't like the voice, sound of your own voice?
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm echoing to myself. Anyways, it's great to be here. We're thrilled to talk to you about Jakarta EE. My name is Tanja Obradovic. I work as Jakarta EE Program Manager, and this is my distinguished colleague. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Ivar Grimstad. I'm Jakarta EE Developer Advocate. And these are not my slides. Oh, there are the slides. So these are our slides. Our talk is called Jakarta EE 10 and Beyond. So I'll let it over to you, Tanja. So EE, where do we go to find information about this?
Oh, well, you can only guess, right? Jakarta EE is jakarta.ee, but at the same time, I want to tell how did we get to Jakarta EE? So at some point, Java EE was with Oracle, and it was decided to for the whole set of specifications to be contributed to Eclipse Foundation. And that happened quite a while ago with Java EE 8, that was with Oracle infrastructure, and what was, I think, Glassfish 5.0. And you can see the gradual steps that we made from moving it to Eclipse Foundation infrastructure with Java EE 8, and then moving it to Jakarta EE 8 with Jakarta EE with a new process, new licensing, new logo, Javax namespace still, and then we moved to the next release, which was a kind of the big one, Jakarta EE 9. And the 9 release had the new Jakarta namespace. It was running on Java SE 8. And after that, due to the demand from the developer community, we moved it to Java SE 11 to support Java SE 11. But the significant part of that release was the amount of compatible implementations that were available at the time of the release. So, you know, once we released Jakarta 9.1, we were really ready to start innovating, and we're thrilled to kind of give you a little hint that we're just about to release Jakarta EE 10 that is going to have some new specifications, even a new profile, and you know, some individual specifications, and we're expecting it very, very, very soon. I don't want to give the date. So, Ivar, do you want to?
So you mentioned specifications.
Yeah.
And maybe we should just tell everybody what we think of is an specification in this context.
Do you want me to cover that?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so specification is a set of these 3 artifacts. So, a specification document that describes what that specification is all about. It's the API that contains and starts coding for anyone who wants to implement the specification. And then the TCK that needs to be passed in order to verify that the code works. And actually, we need to have the compatible implementation that will prove that the code works by passing the TCKs. And all that together is defining a final specification.
And by TCK, of course, you mean technology compatibility.
Compatibility kit, right.
Which is a set of tests that just test that to verify that the implementation implements the specification.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ivar. Do you want to? Oh.
Yeah. So let's.
Why don't you cover the
10?
Yeah,
you mentioned 10 is coming, and it's coming soon, and we were actually talking about end of June. So June 28, I've heard, is a possible date. So let's see, we're getting there. And E10 is a huge release for us. All the as Tanja said, in 9 we just did the namespace change to have this kind of migration path to make it easy to migrate. But in 10, we're kind of letting loose every specification and the community to contribute. And all the blue boxes there are updated specifications. So this is the complete set of specifications for EE10 with the versions numbers and everything. The .0 releases are the major updates. So they have potentially backwards compatibility breaking changes, or they're just upping the release number for marketing reasons or something. But they're removing things, so it's kind of getting a little bit lighter. There's a couple of specifications that are good as they are, so they're not updated right now. And there's one new one in the corner, and we'll get into details about these specifications as we go. So this is kind of the entire platform. If we kind of take away a couple of the specifications on the left side of the stage here that are more of the enterprisey kind of specifications, we're left with what we call the web profile. And the web profile has been with us since Java EE 6. And these are specifications that are targeting more traditional web applications. And if we remove these kind of web-y sort of specifications and those that are like faces, servlets, and web UI stuff, we're left with a set of specifications that we are calling the core profile. And this is brand new for EE10. We're introducing a new profile. And as you see this stack of specifications, they are targeting microservices or headless services. So with this, we're introducing a lighter version of Jakarta EE. What we're also doing in 10 is to raise the API level. So with the EE 8 and 9, we were compiling the APIs to Java SE 8. Now we're compiling them to Java SE 11. And that means you need a Java SE 11 at least to run this stuff. But what we're doing is also we're making sure it's running with 11 and above.
So what exactly does that mean? What about 17, 19, and...
Yeah, because we're at 19 is coming out soon. And so, yes, you as an app developer can use Java SE 17 with Jakarta EE 10. And you just have to make sure that the runtime you're using are compatible or are running or tested with 17. So the important thing here is that we're testing for 11 and 17.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about next? Do we want to go into each of the specifications and discuss separately each one of them?
Yeah, I think we should go through each and every one of them and explain everything in detail.
Except we'll stay for another week here.
Yeah,
which wouldn't be that bad.
No, and we know there is a party afterwards. So what we want to do, and this is kind of a surprise to Tanja. She doesn't know about this. And what I want to do is I'm doing a randomizer here. So I'm saying spin the spec, and I'll just pick a random spec, and Tanja's going to explain it for us. So let's spin the wheel.
Okay, well, let's see how that goes.
Security.
Oh, no, I don't know anything about security. Okay, well, let me tell you this. First thing for all of you is to actually visit this website, jakarta.ee/specifications, and select, in this case, security, to check what's going on with the security specification. But from what we are having here, it's a major release. It's 3.0. It indicates it's a major release. And we're evolving. Well, we're having new features. It's a major release and involving some of the new APIs. So we added support for Open ID Connect, and to enable that, we had to do some other updates to authorization and authentication specifications as well.
Yes, because these authorization and authentication are kind of the lower level things that the implementers of the application servers are using to provide this functionality for us. So it's nothing that you as an application developer are really exposed very much to.
Yeah, and as we are pointing out, it's a basis for the future work on this spec as well. So more to come for sure.
Yeah. Ready for a new spin?
Do you want me to spin one for you now?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, which one is it going to? Oh, wow.
Oh, RESTful web services.
Okay, well, let me start off and then you take over. So again, here's the website where you can find out more details about it. And by the version number, we're indicating this is not a major release, it's a minor release, and therefore we're maintaining the compatibility and respecting that.
Yeah. And the project team here had originally planned a 4.0 release where they were doing more breaking changes, but they decided to stay on this compatibility with this release.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so what are they adding then?
So we're adding the support for multi-form, multi-part form data. And what else? Do you want to?
So that means you can actually upload files through the APIs.
Yep.
And you have been able to do that before using REST-easy or Jersey or some other implementation. But this actually means that you can do it in a portable way. So it will work on all implementations, and it's a standard way of doing it.
Okay, and Java SE Bootstrap API.
Yeah. And I see you've put a demo on this one for me.
So I'm looking at you, Ivar.
So let's demo this. And what they've done here is to add a way of bootstrapping a Jakarta REST application from a main method without using an application server. So let's have a look at some code. I have an application here. I call it Bootyduke, and that's because it's Bootstrap, you know. So it is a standard RESTful web application. It has a endpoint saying just hello world. So it's super simple. It just has this class. But the interesting thing here is in the application class, the Jakarta REST configuration. Here's where I can do some stuff. I could do it in any main method in some class, but it makes sense to do it here, and I'll show you why. So what I can do here is I created I have to create a main method first. Let's do that. So I create a main method in my application configuration, and then I can do some set up some configuration. It wasn't that one, sorry. Demo. Let's say bootstrap config. So what I'm doing here is that I create a se bootstrap.configuration, and I set some properties there. I set the bootstrap, the root path for my application, and I set the port number to 8081, and I just build this one. So it's a Fluent API to create. I have more things I can do here to set properties, whatever my application requires. This is kind of a super simple example. Then I have to create the application, and that is just instantiate myself. So just create an app here. And the next thing I do is to start the thing. And what I do here is I call se bootstraps.start, and then I just say print this stuff to the console and run it until I press Control C. And as you see, I have to add the interrupt exception to the main method. So that's all there is to it. You kind of can configure it as you want. I'm using the same application, and if you look in my POM file, this is actually not a WAR file. I can create it as a jar, and rather than having just the provided API for the RESTful web services, I also add a runtime. And in this case, I've added REST-easy. If I want to use Jersey, I can use kind of the same dependencies for Jersey. But I have to choose a runtime. And then the next thing I can do is to just compile it. Maven clean package. I'm not sure if they've put staging out in central yet, so I'll use the staging repository. So I just Compiler lines. Oh, yeah, I didn't have that. I misspelled it. Yeah, I misspelled it. So it's staging. There we go. But it looks like it is in Maven Central, so it works fine. And then I can run this class Obradovic, and I use the assembly plugin, so it's the with dependencies. I just run this. It's up and running on 8081. So let's have a look at it here. Beef it up, and you can see it is. Isn't it running 8081? It should be. So it's fairly quick to start. It's up and running, and it does the job without an application server. So this was the application. I just print the message. It's the do screening class I'm running on REST EC6. But you can use Jersey or something else as well.
Okay.
So let's spin a new one.
Yes. Let's see. What else do you get? Oh, my goodness, the persistence. So another one, minor release, right? Adding new features, evolving API, you know, where to look for the details. And I think what we added is a universally unique identifier, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to move on? Yeah, as a basic Java type.
Yeah. So this actually means then that I can use UIDs as primary key if I wanted to. Yeah. So whether that's a good idea or not, that's up to you to decide. But at least there is support for it in the specification. Yeah. They've also added more things, but this is kind of the thing that fits on the slide.
So let's see what else we have.
Yeah.
Oh, CDI Lite.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think you'll get that one.
So it is the major spec for the core profile that Ivar has mentioned earlier. And it is designed to work in the environments that are requiring new modern application development tailored to the web services and smaller runtimes. So Ivar, why don't you give a little bit more details? How is that related to GraalVM? What exactly does it mean, dynamic at build time?
Yeah.
And all other details.
Yeah, so they in order to be able to compile to native using GraalVM, we need to kind of resolve all the dynamic features of CDI at build time rather than at runtime. And the portable extensions that are in CDI today are very runtime. Everything is happening when the server or application starts. So what they want to do is to kind of mimic these dynamic features at build time. So they've created a brand new extensions API called build compatible extensions that will enable you to do more or less the same thing as you can do in a portable extension, but do it at build time. So you can compile to native. I'll do a demo of this later. The demo here is for the backwards incompatible thing they're introducing now, and that's the empty beans XML. So we're changing the behavior of an empty beans XML. So if you're depending on an empty beans XML, meaning everything is injectable, then you may have to add an empty beans XML to specify it, or if you're using the annotated version today, you can actually remove the beans XML and have the same behavior. So maybe we should look at that.
Yeah.
And
why not?
Yeah. And to make it a little bit exciting here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Obradovic application and take that one and just drop it into a runtime and see if it works, because in this case, I'm not using CDI at all. So what I'll do, I'll leave the main method here. It doesn't do any harm. But the thing I'm going to change is, in my POM file, I'll just get rid of the terminal here. So in my POM file, I'll change this to be a war. And what I also want to do is to add the web API dependency here. So I'll Jakarta web API, Jakarta platform, and let's use 10. And I can also then actually remove all this stuff because I'm going to deploy into an application server, so I don't need any of this. So the POM file gets much simpler. I've now created a WAR file. I'll just reload this one. And then I'll deploy this one into GlassFist 7 and just see if it works. So let's take Obradovic. And this one is kind of weird because when I do this demo, it sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't. So let's see. That's kind of the demo kind of thing. I hope actually it doesn't work, and it doesn't. You can see it didn't deploy. And why didn't it deploy? It says in the log file here that it couldn't start it because somewhere it says CDI is not enabled. And this is kind of the thing. This would have worked with EE9 because everything is injectable since beans.xml mean all. So what I can do here, I can add an empty beans.xml and specify it to all, or I can actually take this resource class and add a request scope to it. So it's kind of, now it's annotated. So now CDI will be enabled and discover it. So if I now do a redeploy here, you see it's green and it works. So now I can go to this one, and this one I'm running on 8080, so I just change the port number to 8080, and oh sorry, it's just localhost 8080 Obradovic hello, and it says hello, and it works. So this is kind of the place where you have to be aware of the breaking changes of CDI.
So
a new one.
Let's do it.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a big one.
This is actually the core profile.
Yeah. So as mentioned earlier, targeting smaller runtimes, and I think there are. Do you want to go straight to a demo? Well, except
we can just repeat the specs.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are the specs that are in core profile, just to remind everybody. And what are we meaning with smaller runtimes? So with this, this is just possible. This is just me speculating. What we know is that Wildfly is going to be the compatible implementation we use to ratify this spec, so they will support core profile. What we hope is that Helidon, Quarkus, Micronaut, and others, also Payara Micro, for example, and all of the other sort of smaller runtimes, those that are already today providing some sort of compilation to native and run native code will also be implementing core profile. And I have heard rumors that at least Helidon and Quarkus are going to do it, maybe later this year, maybe next year.
Yep.
So do we want to do a demo of core profile? This is a very short and simple demo, or I'm not sure if this is the bigger demo. I can't remember really more. We messed around with the slides. So yeah, so this is kind of a recap. What I usually do in these demos is I take Jakarta EE8 and I do the namespace change and everything over to Jakarta EE9. What I'm going to assume here is that everybody have done this already, and we are on 9. So I'll just take it and go through it, what you have to do if you haven't done it yet. And there are several ways you can do it. One is transformation. So we have these tools called the Eclipse Transformer, and we have an Apache Tomcat migration tool that takes your bytecode and transforms it from the Java X namespace to the Jakarta namespace for you. So you don't have to do anything. You just run the tool on your deployable WAR file, and you can deploy it into an EE9 server. It's super simple. There are also some of the servers have these tools built in, so you can actually deploy a Java X-based application into a Jakarta EE9 runtime. But there are other ways as well. IDEs support it, and IntelliJ, for example, has this kind of migration step in the refactoring menu where you can migrate from Java EE to Jakarta EE. It's actually from Jakarta EE 8 to Jakarta EE 9, but it will also migrate a Java EE 8 application. And it will do everything for you with within your code base. And it will also make sure that you don't migrate the classes that aren't under Jakarta EE, such as JavaX, SQL, etc. You can also do it manually. And if you take a look at my GitHub, the Jakarta EE Duke application, there is a small tutorial there. You can do it step by step and go through and actually do this migration yourself. And it will take the entire application and do everything you have to do and actually do all these 6 steps. Not every application have all these 6 steps, but usually 1 and 2 you have to fix the imports when you do the POM update from the version 8 to 9. And then if you're using XML schema namespaces, you have to change these as well to the newer ones. And maybe some property files, bootstrapping files, and if you have some dynamic content that requires updates.
But I guess it is important to point out that those are all the steps that you may need to do for the full-blown application, not just a simple demo one. So yeah, it's a good slide to have handy if you attempt to. Hopefully you will migrate to a Jakarta EE namespace, and you will need that slide to help you out.
Yeah. So what we're going to do then is take a simple application, upgrade it from 9 to 10. That's a fairly quick step. And I'll also demo quickly Core Profile in Wildfly. And the application I'm going to use for the first step is my simple Hello World application, where I'm storing the message in the database. I'm using Jakarta persistence to retrieve the message. I'm having Jakarta enterprise beans to do my business logic around the message. And I'm using Jakarta REST to produce an endpoint that uses Jakarta JSON binding to serialize the output to JSON. And also have a CDI extensions that prints a log message to the console. When I move this to Core Profile, I have to switch this Dux extension to a build-compatible extension. I'm not going to do all these steps here today. I'm just going to show the code how it is. Looks like. So if I want to change from 8 to 9, I'll use the complete Duke application. So this one has everything that I just showed you: the Duke's greeting, the business logic in enterprise bean, and etc. So if I want to do this change from 9 to 10, it's very simple actually. What I do is I change the version number. So it's not harder than that. They're done. So I've upgraded, and since I'm not using anything that is backwards incompatible, I don't have to do anything else than just deploy it into a EE10 server. So that path is very simple. I can just drop it into Glassfish just to ensure you that it's still running. So complete Duke, I'll just add it there and deploy it. There you go. So it should deploy fairly quickly. I hope this wasn't my message, but let's see if it's here. So the Glassfish is running. Localhost, complete Duke. And it says, how did Jakarta EE? And it sent 901, and that's the dynamic thing. I haven't updated it, the database. So if I wanted to print Jakarta EE10, I would have to update my database from 901 to 10. One thing you can notice here is it says get date and get greeting, and that doesn't look very nice in the JSON. So there is a hack around this. And this is because I'm using Java 17 here. So I'm using 17. And what I also is using is a record to send out to the from my resource. So I'm returning a record there. And my entire business logic is to take the entity I find, the first entity I find in the database, and just map it to this record. So this is kind of my business logic. And the reason why I have this get, why I called this attribute get, this is kind of the hack to get older versions of JSON binding to actually discover a record. Otherwise, it wouldn't print anything because it expects a Java bean, which has a getter. But the good news is that the new version of JSON binding actually supports this, even though I don't think they intended to do it, but it just happens to work. So if I redeploy this one, it will display the message more properly in JSON. So we can kind of get rid of this hack you had to do in EU9. The other thing I wanted to show is a core application. So I have core Duke here, and before we do that, I'll go in here and look at the old CDI extension, the portable extension, and this is the way you would do that. You would implement an extension class, the service provider interface for CDI, and then you could observe things here. So I can look at classes with the at Duke's annotation and print stuff from it. And if I the Duke's resource here is annotated with @Dukes and says hi there. If I wanted to do this in a build-compatible way, first I'll just show the POM file. I'm using Core API here, and I'm also using Java 17. And my application here is exactly the same, just I don't have the database thing. That's not covered by Core Profile. So my service here is just returning this record. And here you can see I have updated it, so it just uses the greeting like this. But the thing that differs here is the extension class. And what they've added is you now implement a build-compatible extension. So rather than implementing an extension, you implement a build-compatible extension. You also have to update the bootstrapping file from a file called inject SPI extension to something compatible SPI extension. And you don't have to remember this because this is the fully qualified class path for this interface. And here you can see it's an annotation-based way. So I have these different cycles, like at discovery, at enhancement, and etc. So you have to kind of just figure out which life cycle is that you want to hook into. And here I'm using the enhancement. And I'm just looking for annotations with the Dukes class and doing exactly the same printout. So if I drop this into Wildfly here, I'll just redeploy it. We should be able to see in the log file that it prints this. I found this Dukes annotation, and the message is hi there. And it, if you look at the here, it's called core Duke, and it says hello. So it works exactly the same way as it would you would expect. The difference here is the build compatible extension that I have available in the core profile.
And now?
Yeah.
So this is about 10, right? And we want to invite you to start thinking about what's going on beyond 10 release. And there are some good indications that community is already excited about what's coming next. And we will go and just run through some of the new specifications that are on the horizon and some of the proposals as well. And of course, invite you to participate and start adding your wish list and contributing maybe to the existing proposals.
Yeah, so this is on a very early stage, and beyond 10 is 11. So usually, and
well, who knows? Maybe there will be 10.1.
Yeah, it could be a 10.1. You never know. We have done that before. We did 9.1. So yeah. So we're starting that work now, and this is purely speculation. And I would be very surprised if this actually happened, that we raised the API level to 17, at least on the platform level. I think we would see a situation where we allow it to be done on the individual specifications, but we must make sure that we can run on newer platforms. So whatever long-term support release that is the latest when we release this, and most likely that would be 21,
Yep.
then we should make sure that the TCK runs on 21. So that's kind of the important thing. We need to make sure that we can run on newer versions, but we also need to kind of maintain a backwards compatible way for Apple developers to use the previous versions and get here without forcing them to upgrade too fast.
Okay, and so here are some specs that I mentioned earlier. So Jakarta config, that's in works. Please jump on, read about it, tell us what you need from configuration spec to support. I don't think I want to spend much time on...
No, config is very much in good state. They have weekly meetings. So every Tuesday at, I think it's 11 Eastern, or 10 Eastern even. Yeah, because 11 is the platform.
It's 10.
So 10 Eastern time, they have a weekly call where they discuss Jakarta config. And as you would probably guess, it's very similar to microprofile config. It will provide the exact same features as microprofile config does today. It will provide a migration path, and it will also add the things that are more kind of useful in a Jakarta environment, and remove some of the things that weren't that much used. So it's kind of the version 2.0, even though it would be a version 1.0 of Jakarta config.
And since you're mentioning the meetings, I just want to say that at jakarta.ee/connect link, you can find all the ways to get in touch, including the calendar where all the public meetings are published. So you're more than welcome to join any of the meetings and start listening in, and eventually working with the best of the breed in the enterprise world.
And how it most likely would look like something like this. You inject a property. This is using the CDI. It will also be a programmatic interface, and they will add a tree structure to the configuration properties. And I think they also think about doing meta properties, so you can define how properties should be defined. So it will be very advanced, but still simple to use.
Oh, this is right up your alley, Ivar.
Yeah,
so
this is my specification. So yeah, so I've been doing this for a long time. So we're standardizing the action-based model view controller pattern. And it's a standalone specification. It's a version 2.0 now. We're going to release a 2.1 that supports Jakarta EE 10. It's not a part of the platform. And I don't know if it will be a part of the platform ever, or if it will be a part of something in 11, maybe. If you want it, try it out, test it. It runs on most of the application servers available out there. And so try it out and provide feedback. And if this is something that is useful for you, let us know so we can make it to the platform. Because server-side rendering is coming back. So, and this is the way you do it. It's built on Jakarta REST. So you do it exactly as you would do with a RESTful endpoint. You just have the as control orientation, and we also provide different ways of defining the views. It could be an annotation like this, or you can return it. So it's very flexible, simple API.
okay, well, I'm not sure Ottavio is here, but this is something that he would be very proud of. So Jakarta NoSQL, supporting integration with NoSQL databases. Again, the link, there is a lot of work happening already for quite some time, so it will be interesting to see how this one evolves and where we go with it in maybe version 10 or independently. Like each of these specifications, I think that's important to note as well, is available on their own, regardless of whether they're part of the platform or profile.
Yeah, and NoSQL has released a couple of betas, so they are at beta 4 now.
Yeah.
And they are kind of waiting to release a final version until they have Jakarta config available, because they want to use that.
Yeah. RPC, it's a Jakarta RPC, I should say. It is brand new. It's just working towards establishing itself. So if you're interested in remote procedure calls, jump on and start working towards it. I believe, I'm not sure they have regular meetings yet, but
no,
that is
this project has been created.
Yeah.
It's up and running. It has a committer base,
Yep.
but they haven't really showed anything yet. So this is the time where you can jump in on mailing list and just ask, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And somebody will ask, and we can get it going fairly quickly.
And while we're here and not mentioning the meeting, each of the projects have their own mailing list. So if you are interested, please, through the website, it will be easy to navigate and find it out. And if not, you know where to find me, you know where to find Ivar, and we'll help you out.
Yeah, so this is just a proposal going on, and we're not creating a new Jakarta Commons or because if you remember Jakarta Commons at Apache, we're not doing some utility that is going to be a super dependency for us. We just want to have a shared space where we can define some common things. Maybe this is where the Jakarta annotation specification comes out of, because that's common for everybody. So we're kind of looking at, it may not necessarily be a specification coming out of this. It may not necessarily be an API. It could just be some common ideas, thoughts. But this is a project proposal at the moment.
Yeah, and it's not up to us. It is up to the community to make a decision. So again, invitation. Okay, and data access, Jakarta data, another proposal, very early stages.
This one is out for community review now.
Yeah.
So it's available, not on this URL actually, but if you search for new proposals at Eclipse Foundation, you can go in there and comment and see, is this the right way to go, or is it not the right way to go? And think Spring Data or Delta Spike data. That's kind of the thing we want to do, just in a standard way with Jakarta EE technologies.
Okay, well, let's just summarize everything for you. So the most important part, I guess, out of this talk is to remember that all the information can be found at jakarta.ee. And if you cannot find it from there, do let us know, because we want to fix that. So if something is to be taken away, please remember this. And then let's just move on to the great slide of 9.
Yeah, so we just wanted to recap what 9 is about before we also talk about 10. And this was to lower the entry barriers, to make it possible for new players on the market to create an application server. We removed a bunch of optional features and made a lot of things optional, so you don't have to implement it. We also wanted to
May I add just on that? If you go and look at the compatible implementations for any of our versions, we're extremely proud to see how many compatible implementations we have, and some of the new players are emerging as well. So it is really exciting to see the uptake. So yay for lowering entry barriers. It does work.
Yeah. And we also wanted to establish Jakarta EE as a platform for innovation. And I think with remember the slides of all the specifications in 10 and the work going on there, I think we've succeeded in that as well. And the last step is to make the migration easy. And the migration we're talking about is, of course, the JavaX to Jakarta namespace, which has sort of disrupted the entire industry. And people are working on it everywhere. And Spring 6, Spring Boot 3 will come out later this year, and they have done this conversion internally in their API. So you probably will be exposed to some of it. So even if you're using Spring, you will probably have some user story in your issue log to do this migration thing. So
And
Jakarta EE
then-
10, yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of
this is-
updates.
This is a lot of updates, a lot of work. Community is really coming together. We're extremely excited to see what's going on. And yeah, looking forward to what's coming next.
Yeah, and actually, I have brand new update. We had the platform call just a couple of hours ago, and manage beans here. We're going to deprecate it. So for 11, that will be gone, most likely. So we're deprecating it for 10, probably removing it in 11. The new thing we did in 10 was introduce the core profile, and we hope to see many implementations there. The Java SE version was raised from 8 to 11, and we're making sure it runs on 17. We're testing everything on 11 and 17. We don't do the things in between, but if somebody wants to certify their server on 16, please go ahead. We don't have any opinion about it at all. We just chose these versions 11 and 17. And some resources.
And I think that's, again, the most important link and some of the other links that you may find useful. There are Ivar's weekly hashtag blogs that will give you fabulous idea of what's going on. There are monthly or bi-monthly updates from me as well on jakartablogs.ee. So, you know.
Yeah, and the Jakarta blogs, if you write something related to Jakarta EE
absolutely.
or Java, you can get your blog listed there as well. It's an aggregator, so it's an instruction there to easily go in and add the RSS feed from your blog, and it will appear on Jakarta blogs.
And if you have an application that is using Java EE and you're moving to Jakarta EE, I would love to talk to you, and I would like to write about it and showcase how you do it, what are the challenges, hopefully none, you know, showcase to the rest of the world. So get in touch.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
First one who asks a question other than, can I have this t-shirt, gets this t-shirt. Any question?
Questions?
It's a nice t-shirt. Yes?
It's related on what you just said. For example, I maintain a very old, I don't like to use this word, but okay, it's a very old Java EE based application, Java EE 7. And what you guys would advise as the first step, because there is no from zero to hero, I know this. This application is very complicated, let's say. I need to respect that. It's a legacy system, so on and so forth. Everyone here knows what I'm talking about. But if I would try to, I don't know, start a proof of concept, would you guys, what do you guys recommend first? I don't know.
So I would say it depends on what platform are you using, right? So are you using any application server? Or?
Yeah, Glassfish 5.
Yeah.
5.1.8.3, if I remember correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fine. So
that's my baby.
yeah. And depends on what type of application it is, right? So maybe slim down for the proof of concept, as you were saying. And if you remember that first slide that I showed, you have quite a few steps to select appropriate Glassfish version to run it on, and then decide how you envision your application in the future, whether you want to just do the same application, do you want to do... So this is after proof of concept, like the mini one, try on that. I think it was Glassfish 6, or I can't remember, but one of the versions that supports Jakarta EE 9 with the namespace change. try to do a little one there for the proof of concept, and then depending where you want to move, like if you want to change your application, re-architect, or you want to keep it as monolith and change it that way. Ivar, do you have more advices?
Yeah, sure. What you could do is take your deployable WAR file, run it through the Eclipse transformer or the Apache migration tool, and drop it into Glassfish sticks and see if it works.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do agree, because we are not only talking about the technology itself, but also maybe it's an opportunity to rethink about the architecture, and there's a lot of stuff to cover at
Moving
the same
parts.
time. I don't know.
This is a well-deserved T-shirt,
Yeah, oh yes.
I would say.
So thank you very much for listening, and we don't have time for more questions, but we have stickers there, so if you want to have Jakarta stickers, come up here and you get your T-shirt.
Yeah.
Thank you.